Most people start a business to gain freedom. Freedom of time, freedom of income, freedom of choice. But somewhere along the way, something goes wrong. The business that was meant to serve you begins to consume you. You wake up early, go to bed late, answer calls at odd hours, chase clients, fix mistakes, and solve problems that never seem to end. You are busy, yet not free. Successful, yet exhausted. Profitable, yet trapped. You don't own a business. The business owns you. This is the silent trap millions of entrepreneurs fall into. They build companies that cannot breathe without them, operate without their supervision, or grow without their personal involvement. If they stop showing up, revenue drops. If they take a break, the system breaks. If they step away, everything stalls. This audiobook exists to break that cycle. Because real entrepreneurship is not about working harder. It is about building systems that work harder than you do. An e-boss is not the loudest worker in the room. An e-boss is the architect behind the operation. The thinker, not the firefighter. The owner, not the overworked employee of their own company. The e-boss builds businesses that run on structure, processes, technology, and people, not personality, stress, or constant supervision. Their presence improves the business, but their absence does not destroy it. This shift begins with one uncomfortable truth. If your business collapses when you are not present, you don't have a business, you have a job with extra risk. And the solution is not hiring more people, working longer hours, or chasing the next shiny tool. The solution is design. Designing how work flows. Designing how decisions are made. Designing how money is earned. Designing how value is delivered, consistently, predictably, and independently of you. Throughout this audiobook, you will learn how to replace hustle with leverage, chaos with clarity, and constant involvement with intelligent control. You will learn how to step out of the center of every operation and reposition yourself where true owners belong, at the level of vision, strategy, and growth. This is not about laziness. It is about leadership. It is not about abandoning your business. It is about freeing it from dependence on you. Whether you run a small enterprise, a digital business, a service company, or a growing organization, the principles in this audiobook will challenge how you think about work, control, delegation, and success. Because the ultimate goal is not to build a business that keeps you busy. The ultimate goal is to build a business that keeps running, whether you are present or not. The e-boss, how to build a business that can run without you. Written and published by the Zillion Pro. Chapter 1, From Hustler to E-Boss. In the beginning, you do everything. You sell, you deliver, you market, you fix problems, you answer calls, you chase payments. You make decisions on the fly. Hustle feels noble because it looks like sacrifice. It feels productive because you are always busy, and for a while it works. But hustle was never meant to be permanent. What starts as passion quietly turns into pressure. The business grows, but so does the weight on your shoulders. Every success increases dependency on you. Every new customer adds another demand on your time. And without realizing it, you become the most expensive and most exhausted employee in your own company. This is where many entrepreneurs get stuck. They confuse movement with progress. They confuse busyness with leadership. They confuse control with ownership. An e-boss understands something different. Hustle builds momentum, but systems build freedom. The problem is not that you worked hard. The problem is that you kept working hard after the business needed you to think harder instead. At a certain stage, hustle becomes a liability. The more the business relies on your personal effort, the harder it becomes to scale, delegate, or step away. You may be making money, but you are not building an asset. You are building a cage with yourself inside it. The transition from hustler to e-boss begins with an identity shift. A hustler asks, "What do I need to do today?" An e-boss asks, "What must exist so this works without me?" A hustler focuses on tasks. An e-boss focuses on systems. A hustler is rewarded for effort. An e-boss is rewarded for design. This shift can feel uncomfortable at first. When you stop doing everything yourself, it may feel like you are losing control. In reality, you are gaining leverage. True control does not come from your constant presence. It comes from clear processes, defined roles, and predictable outcomes. E-bosses build businesses that function like machines. Each part has a purpose. Each role has clarity. Each process has an expected result. When one person steps out, the system keeps moving. This is why two entrepreneurs can earn the same income, yet live very different lives. One is always tired, always needed, always involved. The other has time, clarity, and choices. The difference is not intelligence or luck. The difference is structure. Becoming an e-boss does not mean you stop working. It means you stop doing work that does not require your level. Your highest value is not execution. It is vision, direction, and decision-making. Every time you spend your energy on tasks that can be systemized, delegated, or automated, you rob the business of its next level. The hustler builds income. The e-boss builds infrastructure. And infrastructure is what creates freedom. As you move through this audiobook, you will begin to see your business differently. You will learn how to extract yourself from the center of daily operations without losing quality, profit, or control. You will learn how to build once and benefit repeatedly. The goal is not to work less because you are lazy. The goal is to work less on tasks and more on outcomes. Hustle may have brought you here, but only the e-boss mindset will take you further. Chapter 2: The Myth of the Self-Made Entrepreneur. The idea of the self-made entrepreneur is one of the most celebrated and most misleading stories in business. We admire founders who did it all alone. We repeat stories of individuals who built companies from nothing through sheer willpower, grit, and sacrifice. The narrative is inspiring, but it is incomplete, and when misunderstood, it becomes dangerous. Because no sustainable business is built alone. Behind every so-called self-made entrepreneur is a network of systems, people, tools, customers, mentors, and structures working together, often invisibly. What we call self-made is usually just well-supported. The problem with the myth is not that hard work is unnecessary. The problem is that the myth glorifies solo struggle and discourages collaboration, delegation, and design. It convinces entrepreneurs that asking for help is weakness, and that doing everything yourself is proof of commitment. In reality, doing everything yourself is proof of a missing system. The truth is simple. If a business can only function when one person is present, it is not a business, it is a fragile operation. E-bosses understand that growth is not a personal achievement, it is an organizational one. They don't try to become superheroes. They build ecosystems. A hustler says, "If I don't do it, it won't be done right." An e-boss says, "If I design it well, others can do it right." This shift requires humility. You must accept that your role is not to be the best at everything, but to build an environment where excellence can happen without you. That means trusting processes over personality, standards over emotions, and structure over instinct. The myth of the self-made entrepreneur also creates burnout disguised as honor. Long hours are celebrated. Constant availability is praised. Exhaustion is worn like a badge. But burnout is not a sign of success. It is a warning signal that the system is broken. No great company scales on exhaustion. No legacy is built on depletion. E-bosses know that the goal is not personal heroics but organizational strength. They replace dependency with clarity. They replace guesswork with documentation. They replace ask the boss with check the system. This is why mature businesses feel calm, even under pressure. Decisions are guided by principles. Operations follow playbooks. People know what to do because expectations are clear. The self-made myth keeps founders stuck at the center of everything. The e-boss builds a business where they are important, but not indispensable. And that distinction changes everything. When you are indispensable, you are trapped. When you are replaceable, you are free. This does not diminish your value, it multiplies it. Your worth shifts from doing to directing, from reacting to designing, from being needed to being strategic. As you let go of the self-made illusion, you create space for growth, rest, creativity, and scale. You move from isolation to collaboration, from pressure to precision, from survival to sustainability. You were never meant to build alone. You were meant to build smart. Chapter 3: Working on the business, not in it. One of the most quoted ideas in entrepreneurship is also one of the least practiced. Work on the business, not in the business. Many founders understand the phrase, but very few live it. Working in the business means handling daily operations, solving routine problems, responding to messages, delivering services, and putting out fires. It feels productive because things get done, but it keeps you locked at the level of execution. Working on the business is different. It means shaping the direction, building systems, improving structure, and making decisions that remove you from future tasks. It feels slower at first because the results are not immediate, but its impact is lasting. Hustlers stay busy. E-bosses build leverage. The challenge is that working in the business screams for attention, while working on the business whispers. Urgent tasks feel more important than strategic ones. Fires feel more real than foundations. And without intention, you spend all your time reacting, never designing. This is how entrepreneurs become prisoners of their own productivity. An e-boss understands that every task falls into one of two categories. Tasks that produce results once. Tasks that produce results repeatedly. Execution produces once. Systems produce repeatedly. When you answer a customer, the problem is solved one time. When you create a customer support process, the problem is solved hundreds of times, without you. Working on the business means asking a different set of questions. Why does this problem keep happening? How can this be standardized? Who should own this task permanently? What system would prevent this in the future? These questions turn effort into assets. At first, this shift feels uncomfortable. You may feel guilty for not being busy. You may feel detached from the action. But this discomfort is a sign of growth. You are moving from being useful to being essential. E-bosses schedule time to think, review, and design. They protect this time fiercely because they know that clarity creates more value than activity. 1 hour spent improving a process can save hundreds of hours in the future. This is where many entrepreneurs fail, not because they lack intelligence, but because they lack space. Space to observe patterns. Space to spot inefficiencies. Space to redesign workflows. Working on the business requires you to step back so the system can move forward. It also demands discipline. You must resist the temptation to jump into every problem. Not every issue needs your hands, some need your brain. Your job is not to fix everything. Your job is to make sure the same problems don't return. The moment you realize that your presence is not always the solution, but sometimes the bottleneck, you begin to grow as an owner. A business that depends on your constant involvement will never give you freedom, but a business that depends on your thinking can scale beyond you. As you practice working on the business, you will notice a shift. The chaos reduces, the team becomes more confident, decisions become clearer, and your role evolves from worker to manager to architect. This is the path of the e-boss. Chapter 4: Designing a business that runs on systems. Every successful business you admire is powered by systems, whether you see them or not. What appears smooth, effortless, and organized on the surface is usually the result of carefully designed processes working quietly in the background. Orders are fulfilled the same way every time. Customers receive consistent experiences. Problems are handled predictably. Growth does not depend on mood, memory, or constant supervision. This is not luck. This is design. A system is simply a defined way of doing something so that the same result can be achieved again and again by anyone trained to follow it. Systems remove guesswork. They replace chaos with clarity. And most importantly, they remove dependence on the founder. Many entrepreneurs resist systems because they believe systems reduce flexibility or creativity. The opposite is true. Systems create stability, and stability creates space for creativity to flourish. Without systems, everything lives in your head. With systems, knowledge lives in the business. An e-boss does not ask, "Who can handle this today?" An e-boss asks, "What system should handle this every day?" Designing a business that runs on systems begins with recognizing patterns. Repeated problems, repeated tasks, repeated decisions. These are signals that a system is needed. If something happens more than twice, it should not rely on memory or improvisation. There are core areas where systems are essential. How customers are attracted and onboarded. How products or services are delivered. How money is collected and tracked. How issues are resolved. How performance is monitored. When these areas lack structure, stress becomes the default. When they are systemized, calm becomes normal. Systems do not have to be complex. In fact, the best systems are simple, clear, and documented. A checklist can be a system. A script can be a system. A step-by-step workflow can be a system. What matters is consistency, not perfection. E-bosses design systems with one goal in mind: repeatability. If a process cannot be repeated without you, it is not complete. This requires you to step out of execution and into observation. Watch how work gets done. Notice where delays occur. Identify where mistakes are common. These friction points are opportunities for design. A systemized business does not eliminate people, it empowers them. Clear systems give teams confidence. They know what success looks like. They know what steps to follow. And they know how to correct errors without escalating every issue to the owner. This is how businesses scale without collapsing. When systems are absent, growth multiplies confusion. When systems are present, growth multiplies capacity. Designing systems also protects the future of the business. If you fall ill, take time off, or decide to step back, the business continues to function. That is not detachment, it is maturity. An e-boss builds once, then improves continuously. Systems are not static. They evolve as the business grows. But without an initial structure, there is nothing to refine. The goal is progress, not perfection. As you advance, begin to see your business not as a collection of tasks, but as a network of systems. Each system should have a clear purpose, a clear owner, and a clear outcome. This is the foundation of a business that runs without you. Chapter 5. Turning chaos into repeatable processes. Chaos is not a personality flaw in business. It is a design flaw. Most entrepreneurs do not intend to run chaotic operations. Chaos emerges quietly when growth outpaces structure. More customers arrive. More tasks appear. More decisions are required. And without clear processes, everything starts depending on speed, memory, and improvisation. At first, you manage it. Then you tolerate it. Eventually, it controls you. An e-boss does not fight chaos with more effort. An e-boss replaces chaos with process. A process is simply a clear, repeatable sequence of steps that turns input into a predictable outcome. It answers 3 critical questions. What should be done? How should it be done? What does done right look like? Where these answers are missing, confusion fills the gap. Chaos often hides in familiar places. Missed deadlines, inconsistent customer experiences, repeated mistakes, constant clarifications, and team members asking the same questions again and again. These are not people problems. They are process problems. E-bosses know this truth. If a task relies on explanation every time, it needs documentation. Turning chaos into repeatable processes begins with observation, not judgment. You don't fix everything at once. You start by identifying what happens repeatedly. Repetition is your signal. Any task done frequently should never depend on instinct. Start small. How is a new customer onboarded? How is a service delivered from start to finish? How is a complaint handled? How is payment followed up? Once identified, break each activity into simple steps, not complex theory, just clear actions. Imagine someone new joining your business tomorrow. Could they follow the process without asking you questions? That is the test. Processes do not need to be long manuals. In fact, the most effective ones are short, visual, and practical. A checklist, a flowchart, a short screen recording, a one-page guide. What matters is that the knowledge leaves your head and enters the business. This is where many entrepreneurs struggle, because documenting processes forces clarity. It exposes inefficiencies. It reveals shortcuts that only you understand. But this discomfort is part of maturity. You are turning invisible effort into visible structure. Repeatable processes do something powerful. They make performance measurable. When a process exists, you can improve it. When it doesn't, you can only react. Improvement is impossible without definition. E-bosses also understand that processes protect quality. They ensure customers receive the same level of service regardless of who handles the task. They reduce dependency on star performers and increase reliability across the team. This is how businesses scale without breaking. Chaos demands constant supervision. Processes demand only occasional oversight. As processes take shape, you will notice a shift. Fewer questions, fewer emergencies, fewer emotional decisions. The business becomes calmer, not because people work harder, but because the system works better. The goal is not rigidity. The goal is consistency. Once consistency exists, improvement becomes easy. Chapter 6: The Power of Predictable Models. Freedom in business is not created by excitement. It is created by predictability. Many entrepreneurs chase variety, new ideas, new offers, new markets, believing that growth comes from constant innovation. While creativity has its place, businesses that run without their owners are built on something far less glamorous: repeatable models that produce consistent results. An e-boss does not depend on luck, motivation, or daily heroics. An e-boss depends on models. A business model answers one simple question: how does this business reliably turn value into money? When that answer changes every week, stress becomes permanent. When the answer is clear and consistent, planning becomes possible. Predictable models stabilize 3 critical areas: revenue, operations, decision-making. When revenue is predictable, cash flow becomes manageable. When operations are predictable, systems work smoothly. When decisions are predictable, leadership becomes calm and confident. Unpredictability keeps founders trapped in survival mode. E-bosses intentionally design models that reduce uncertainty. Subscription services, retainers, standardized packages, funnels, licensing, recurring contracts. These are not just revenue strategies. They are freedom strategies. A predictable model allows you to forecast, delegate, and step back without fear. You know what is coming in, what must be delivered, and what resources are required. That clarity removes anxiety from growth. Chaos thrives on variation. Systems thrive on repetition. The more customized and inconsistent your offering, the harder it is to systemize. The more standardized and focused your model, the easier it is to automate, delegate, and scale. This does not mean you sacrifice quality. It means you refine it. Instead of reinventing delivery every time, you perfect one method and repeat it. Excellence grows through repetition. E-bosses understand this principle. If it cannot be predicted, it cannot be scaled. Predictable models also protect your energy. You are no longer making the same decisions repeatedly. Pricing is clear. Delivery is clear. Expectations are clear. The business moves forward without constant negotiation. As predictability increases, your role shifts. You spend less time reacting and more time optimizing. You analyze numbers instead of chasing problems. You adjust systems instead of firefighting. This is where businesses begin to feel stable, even when the market fluctuates. Predictable does not mean stagnant. It means controlled. You can innovate on top of a stable foundation. You can test new ideas without risking the core. You can grow deliberately instead of desperately. An e-boss builds a business where tomorrow looks familiar, not frightening. As you reflect on your own business, ask yourself, how predictable is my revenue? How consistent is my delivery? How often do I reinvent the same solution? Your answers reveal whether your business is designed for freedom or dependency. Chapter 7. Why you are the bottleneck. This chapter may be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. In many struggling or stalled businesses, the biggest obstacle is not the market, the economy, the team, or the competition. The biggest obstacle is often the founder. Not because the founder is incompetent, but because the business has been designed to depend on them for everything. When every decision must pass through you, speed slows. When every problem requires your attention, growth stalls. When every approval comes from you, momentum dies. You are not failing your business. You are overserving it. A bottleneck forms when too much flows through one narrow point. In business, that narrow point is often the owner, approving, correcting, deciding, rescuing, and redoing. What once felt like responsibility eventually becomes restriction. E-bosses recognize this pattern early. They understand that being involved in everything does not mean you are effective. It means the system is weak. The more indispensable you are, the less scalable the business becomes. This is the founder's paradox. The very actions that helped you survive in the early stage now prevent you from growing. You answer every message because you care. You fix every mistake because you want quality. You make every decision because you don't trust outcomes. But over time, this behavior trains the business to wait for you. Teams stop thinking. Systems stop evolving. Initiative disappears. When people know you will step in, they stop stepping up. An e-boss shifts from being the solution to being the designer of solutions. Instead of asking, "How do I fix this?" they ask, "Why does this keep needing me?" This question changes everything. You are a bottleneck when you are the only one who knows how things work. You approve every minor decision. Problems repeat instead of disappearing. Growth increases stress instead of capacity. These are not signs of leadership. They are signs of dependency. Removing yourself as the bottleneck does not mean abandoning responsibility. It means redistributing it intelligently. Clear roles, defined authority, documented processes, and measurable outcomes allow the business to function without constant intervention. E-bosses replace personal control with structural control. Instead of saying, "Ask me," they say, "Follow the process." Instead of saying, "I'll handle it," they say, "Who owns this?" Instead of reacting, they design. This shift may feel risky at first. Mistakes may happen, but mistakes within a system are correctable. Mistakes without a system are repeated endlessly. The goal is not perfection. It is progress toward independence. When you remove yourself from the bottleneck position, something powerful happens. The business breathes, people grow, systems mature, and your role becomes lighter but more impactful. You move from pressure to perspective. You were never meant to be the engine forever. You were meant to be the architect. Chapter 8: Hearing for Systems, Not Loyalty. Many entrepreneurs hire with their hearts instead of their structure. They hire friends, relatives, or people who believe in the vision. They reward loyalty, long hours, and personal sacrifice. While loyalty feels good, it is not a strategy. And when loyalty replaces systems, the business becomes fragile. An e-boss values people, but builds the business on structure, not sentiment. Loyalty without clarity creates confusion. Commitment without systems creates dependency. Hard work without direction creates burnout. Hearing for systems means hearing people to operate defined roles within a clear framework, not to guess what the founder wants. It means selecting competence, alignment, and process thinking over emotional attachment. A systemized business does not need heroes. It needs reliable operators. One of the most common mistakes founders make is hearing people and then expecting them to figure things out. When that fails, the founder steps back in, reinforces dependency, and concludes that people are the problem. In reality, the problem is the absence of systems. E-bosses hire with 3 questions in mind. Can this person follow and improve a system? Do they understand outcomes, not just tasks? Can their role function without my daily involvement? If the answer to any of these is no, the hire increases your workload instead of reducing it. Hearing for systems also requires role clarity. Every team member must know what they are responsible for, how success is measured, what decisions they can make without approval. When roles are vague, people rely on the founder. When roles are clear, people rely on the system. This approach protects both the business and the team. Employees thrive when expectations are clear. Anxiety drops. Performance improves. Accountability becomes objective instead of emotional. E-bosses also understand that loyalty should be to the process, not to the person. When loyalty is personal, the business becomes unstable if relationships change. When loyalty is structural, the business survives transitions. This does not mean people are treated coldly. It means people are treated fairly. Systems create fairness. Processes create consistency. Clarity creates trust. Another critical shift is letting go of indispensable employees. If one person holds all the knowledge, the business is still trapped, just with a different bottleneck. E-bosses spread knowledge through documentation, cross-training, and shared systems. No role should be irreplaceable. Only the vision should be. When hearing is system-based, delegation becomes easier, performance becomes measurable, and leadership becomes calm. You stop managing personalities and start managing outcomes. This is how businesses grow without emotional exhaustion. Chapter 9: Delegation without losing control. For many entrepreneurs, delegation feels like danger. You know the tasks, you know the standards, you know what right looks like. Handing work to someone else can feel like inviting mistakes, delays, and disappointment. So you hold on, telling yourself it's faster, safer, and easier to do it yourself. But control through involvement is not control at all. It is exhaustion disguised as responsibility. E-bosses understand a deeper truth. Real control comes from clarity, not closeness. Delegation does not mean abandoning oversight. It means transferring execution while retaining ownership of outcomes. When done correctly, delegation multiplies your capacity without diluting your standards. The fear of losing control usually comes from one missing element: definition. Undefined expectations create anxiety. Undefined processes create mistakes. Undefined authority creates hesitation. E-bosses delegate by defining three things clearly: the outcome required, the process to follow, the boundaries of decision-making. When these are clear, control remains intact, even when you are not present. Delegation also requires a shift in mindset. You must accept that others may not do things exactly the way you would. The goal is not duplication of personality, but duplication of results. If the outcome is achieved and the system is followed, the delegation is successful. Another critical principle is this: you don't delegate tasks, you delegate responsibility. When you only delegate tasks, people wait for instructions. When you delegate responsibility, people think, decide, and solve problems within defined limits. This reduces dependency and builds confidence across the team. E-bosses also delegate gradually. They start with low-risk tasks, observe performance, refine systems, and expand responsibility over time. Trust is not assumed. It is built through structure and feedback. Mistakes will happen, but mistakes inside a system are learning opportunities, not disasters. Each error reveals where the process needs refinement. Over time, the system becomes stronger, and your involvement becomes lighter. Delegation without control leads to chaos. Control without delegation leads to burnout. The e-boss balances both through systems and metrics. Clear performance indicators allow you to monitor outcomes without micromanaging behavior. You stop asking, "Did you do it my way?" and start asking, "Did the system deliver the expected result?" This shift frees your time and sharpens your leadership. As delegation improves, something powerful happens. Your team matures, decision-making speeds up, problems are solved at the right level, and you gain the freedom to focus on growth, strategy, and vision. Delegation is not a loss of power. It is the multiplication of it. Chapter 10: Automate or Suffocate. Every growing business reaches a breaking point. At first, effort fills the gaps. You answer messages manually. You track things in your head. You follow up personally. You rely on memory, reminders, and long hours. But as volume increases, effort stops working. That is the moment when businesses either automate or suffocate. Automation is not about technology for its own sake. It is about removing human effort from repetitive tasks so that energy can be redirected to thinking, improving, and growing. What does not require creativity, judgment, or emotional intelligence should not require your time. E-bosses know this. If a task is repeated, it should be automated. Many founders resist automation because they believe it is expensive, complex, or only for large companies. The truth is the opposite. Small businesses need automation the most because they cannot afford inefficiency. Manual systems collapse under scale. Automated systems expand with it. Automation creates consistency. The same message is sent. The same action is triggered. The same process is followed every time without fatigue, mood, or forgetfulness. This reliability is what allows businesses to operate 24/7 without supervision. Key areas where automation changes everything include: customer onboarding and follow-up, payments, invoicing, and reminders, scheduling and communication, data tracking and reporting, marketing and lead nurturing. When these functions are automated, the business stops depending on constant attention. Problems reduce, delays disappear, revenue stabilizes. E-bosses do not automate everything at once. They start with the biggest pain points, the tasks that drain time, repeat daily, and offer little strategic value. Each automated process is a permanent time recovery. Automation also protects your team. It removes low-value, repetitive work that causes burnout and errors. People perform better when they focus on tasks that require judgment and creativity, not endless repetition. The fear that automation makes a business impersonal is outdated. Smart automation enhances the customer experience by being timely, clear, and reliable. Customers value consistency more than constant human interaction. Automation does not replace leadership. It amplifies it. When systems handle routine work, you gain space to think long-term. You shift from managing activity to monitoring performance, from reacting to building. Without automation, growth increases pressure. With automation, growth increases capacity. This is the dividing line between businesses that stall and businesses that scale. Automate wisely, improve continuously, and never confuse effort with effectiveness. In the next chapter, we will explore the specific tools and technologies that allow businesses to run smoothly around the clock, without your daily presence. When you're ready, I can continue with Chapter 11, Tools that Run Your Business 24/7. Or customize this chapter with examples for digital, service, or physical businesses. Here is Chapter 11, developed in a practical, confidence-building, audiobook-ready tone, showing how the right tools become silent employees that keep the business running day and night. Chapter 11, Tools that Run Your Business 24/7. A business that runs without you is not powered by willpower. It is powered by tools. E-bosses do not rely on memory, reminders, or constant supervision. They build a digital backbone that handles routine operations automatically and consistently. These tools work silently in the background, never tired, never distracted, never unavailable. Think of them as invisible employees. The purpose of business tools is not complexity, it is continuity. They ensure that essential functions happen whether you are awake or asleep, present or absent. The first category of tools every e-boss needs is customer management. A customer relationship management system, often called a CRM, tracks leads, customers, conversations, and follow-ups. Instead of information living in your head or scattered across messages, everything is stored, organized, and accessible. When a CRM is in place, no lead is forgotten. No follow-up is missed. No customer feels ignored. Next are payment and financial tools. Automated invoicing, payment links, subscriptions, and reminders ensure that money flows without awkward chasing. Revenue becomes systematic instead of emotional. You are paid on time because the system demands it, not because you remember. Then come communication and scheduling tools. Automated emails, messaging sequences, and self-booking calendars remove endless back and forth. Customers choose times, receive confirmations, and get updates automatically. Your availability no longer controls your income. Marketing tools are another major lever. Funnels, email campaigns, content schedulers, and ad systems allow your message to reach people continuously. You are not present, but your brand is. Every day, awareness grows without extra effort. Operations and task management tools keep teams aligned. Clear workflows, deadlines, and responsibilities live in shared platforms instead of conversations. This reduces confusion, repetition, and dependence on verbal instructions. Finally, analytics and reporting tools allow you to see what is working without digging. Dashboards show performance at a glance. You stop guessing and start leading with data. E-bosses do not chase activity. They monitor indicators. The key is not having many tools, but having the right tools connected to clear systems. Tools without processes create noise. Processes without tools create fatigue. Together, they create freedom. Technology does not remove responsibility, it redistributes it. You move from doing to overseeing, from managing people to managing systems, from presence to perspective. A business that runs 24/7 is not magical. It is intentional. As you implement the right tools, you will notice a shift. Fewer interruptions, fewer emergencies, more predictability, more time to think, rest, and grow. Chapter 12. Digital assets that work while you sleep. There is a fundamental difference between working for income and building assets. Income is temporary. It stops when effort stops. Assets are permanent. They continue to produce value long after the work is done. E-bosses focus on assets. A digital asset is anything you create once that can deliver value repeatedly without your constant involvement. It could educate, serve, sell, or support customers, day and night, without asking for your time again. This is how businesses move from dependence on activity to independence through leverage. Digital assets take many forms. Online courses, recorded trainings, upticks, audiobooks, membership platforms, templates, software, automated funnels, and content libraries. All of these can operate continuously once they are built and systemized. What makes them powerful is not that they are digital, it is that they are repeatable. When you deliver the same explanation over and over, you are trading time for money. When you package that explanation into a digital asset, you turn knowledge into infrastructure. E-bosses ask a simple question. What am I explaining repeatedly that should already exist as an asset? That question reveals enormous opportunity. Digital assets reduce workload while increasing reach. One piece of content can serve hundreds or thousands of people simultaneously. Quality improves because the message is refined once and delivered consistently. Digital assets also protect your energy. You stop answering the same questions. You stop onboarding from scratch. You stop reinventing delivery. The business becomes quieter, calmer, and more scalable. This is not about passive income fantasies. It is about strategic effort. Digital assets still require work, design, clarity, and testing, but the work is front-loaded. Once completed, the asset becomes a silent employee, contributing value without daily supervision. E-bosses do not replace human connection with digital tools. They use digital assets to handle education, orientation, and repetition, freeing humans to focus on creativity, relationship, and problem-solving. A business built only on live effort remains fragile. A business supported by digital assets becomes resilient. Digital assets also allow expansion without exhaustion. You can serve new markets, unbud new customers, and support existing ones without increasing your workload proportionally. Growth becomes controlled instead of chaotic. As you reflect on your business, consider: what knowledge do I repeat often? What process could be taught once instead of explained daily? What service could be partially digitized? Your answers point directly to assets waiting to be built. Chapter 13. Cash flow without daily presence. One of the greatest fears entrepreneurs carry is this: if I stop showing up every day, will the money stop too? For many businesses, the honest answer is yes. Revenue is tied directly to presence, effort, and constant involvement. When the founder steps back, cash flow slows or disappears entirely. This creates anxiety, pressure, and an endless cycle of overwork. E-bosses design businesses differently. They build revenue systems, not revenue events. Cash flow without daily presence begins with one principle: money should move through process, not persuasion. When income depends on chasing, reminding, negotiating, or personal follow-up, it is fragile. When income flows through clear pricing, automated billing, and predictable delivery, it becomes stable. E-bosses prioritize models that create consistency, subscriptions, retainers, payment plans, standardized offers, and recurring contracts. These models shift revenue from unpredictable spikes to reliable streams. Predictable income changes everything. You plan better. You delegate confidently. You make decisions calmly. Cash flow stability is not about making more money. It is about removing uncertainty. Another key element is separating delivery from payment. When systems handle invoicing, reminders, renewals, and collections, emotional tension disappears. You are paid because the system is designed to collect, not because you personally follow up. E-bosses also understand the power of prepayment. When customers pay before delivery, risk reduces and cash flow improves. The business is funded by structure, not stress. Consistency in pricing also matters. Custom pricing creates confusion, delays decisions, and increases negotiation. Clear packages and transparent rates simplify sales and allow others, not just you, to close deals. Cash flow without daily presence also requires visibility. You must be able to see what is happening without being involved. Dashboards, summaries, and regular reports replace constant checking. You manage by review, not interruption. This is how owners regain mental space. When revenue is systemized, you stop worrying about tomorrow. You focus on improvement, growth, and long-term value instead of short-term survival. It is important to understand this. Cash flow problems are rarely sales problems. They are system problems. When systems are strong, income becomes reliable, even during your absence. The goal is not to disappear from the business. The goal is to remove yourself as the engine of revenue. A business that can generate cash flow without your daily presence is no longer fragile. It is an asset. Chapter 14. Running the business from anywhere. A business that requires your physical presence is not free. It is location-bound. True ownership is not measured by how often you show up, but by how well the business performs when you are not there. Running the business from anywhere is not a luxury reserved for tech founders or global corporations. It is the natural outcome of systems, delegation, automation, and clarity. E-bosses design for distance. They build businesses that do not panic when they are offline, traveling, resting, or unavailable. The business does not wait for them, it continues. Running a business from anywhere begins with visibility without proximity. You don't need to be present to know what is happening. Dashboards replace desk checks. Reports replace interruptions. Scheduled reviews replace constant supervision. You lead by insight, not by inspection. The second requirement is decision separation. Not every decision should reach you. When authority is clearly defined, teams act confidently within boundaries. Escalation becomes rare and meaningful, not constant and draining. E-bosses are not absent. They are accessible by design, not by demand. Communication is intentional, not reactive. Meetings are scheduled, not spontaneous. Updates are structured, not emotional. This creates calm leadership and predictable operations. Technology makes this possible, but only when paired with discipline. Tools allow collaboration across locations, time zones, and schedules. Tasks move forward without waiting. Approvals happen asynchronously. Progress continues while you sleep. But the real shift is psychological. Many founders struggle to let go of physical presence because it gives them a sense of control. But presence is not control, structure is. When systems are strong, distance becomes irrelevant. Running the business from anywhere also forces maturity. Weak systems are exposed quickly. Unclear roles surface immediately. This pressure is not a problem, it is feedback. Distance reveals design flaws so they can be fixed. E-bosses use this advantage intentionally. They step back not to escape responsibility, but to test resilience. Every day the business runs smoothly without them is proof that the system is working. This freedom creates choice. You choose when to engage. You choose where to work. You choose how involved to be. And with choice comes sustainability. A business that can be run from anywhere is not just flexible, it is valuable. Investors, buyers, and partners look for operations that are not tied to one individual. Independence increases worth. The ultimate goal is not travel or leisure. The ultimate goal is control over your time and attention. When your business runs from anywhere, your life expands. You gain space to think, to grow, to rest, and to lead at the highest level. Chapter 15: Scaling Without Burnout. Growth is exciting until it becomes exhausting. Many businesses fail not because they don't grow, but because they grow in ways that overwhelm their systems, their teams, and their founders. Revenue increases, but so does pressure. Customers multiply, but problems multiply faster. What once felt like progress starts to feel like punishment. E-bosses refuse to scale at the cost of sanity. They understand a powerful truth. If growth increases stress, something is broken. Burnout is not caused by success. It is caused by success without structure. Scaling without burnout means strengthening the foundation before increasing the load. Systems must grow before volume does. Processes must mature before expansion. Teams must be prepared before demand rises. E-bosses scale in layers, not leaps. They ask different questions. Can this system handle double the volume? Can this process run with less supervision? Can this role operate without escalation? If the answer is no, scaling is delayed, not avoided but redesigned. One of the biggest causes of burnout is uncontrolled growth. Saying yes to everything, serving everyone, and expanding in all directions creates chaos. Focus, not speed, is what protects energy. E-bosses grow intentionally. They standardize before they expand. They refine before they multiply. They stabilize before they accelerate. Another key factor is protecting leadership energy. Founders burn out when they stay trapped in operations while trying to scale strategy. As the business grows, your role must become lighter, not heavier. Scaling should reduce your involvement, not increase it. This requires trusting systems, empowering leaders, and accepting that growth does not require your constant presence. When delegation and automation are mature, scale becomes manageable. Burnout also spreads. A stressed founder creates a stressed organization. E-bosses lead with calm, clarity, and boundaries. They model sustainability. Rest is not weakness. It is maintenance. A business that depends on exhausted leadership is unstable. A business designed for sustainability can grow for decades. Scaling without burnout also means measuring the right things. Not just revenue, but workload, cycle time, error rates, and team capacity. These indicators reveal stress before it becomes collapse. E-bosses listen to these signals. Growth should feel controlled, not chaotic, challenging, not crushing, energizing, not draining. When done right, scaling creates more freedom, not less. The business becomes stronger, the team becomes more capable, and the founder regains space to think, lead, and enjoy the journey. Conclusion: becoming the e-boss for life. As a builder, you started with hands on everything, mind everywhere, time nowhere. Like most entrepreneurs, you believed hustle was the price of success, and for a season it was. Hustle builds the engine, but systems are what keep it running. Becoming an e-boss is not about escaping work. It's about escaping dependency. Dependency on your presence. Dependency on your energy. Dependency on your mood, health, or availability. An e-boss builds a business that can breathe, think, and operate even when the founder steps away. At this point in the book, one truth should be clear. If your business cannot run without you, you do not own a business, you own a job. The shift that changes everything. The moment you stop asking, how can I do this better, and start asking, who or what should be doing this instead of me, you cross into e-boss territory. E-bosses think in systems instead of effort, models instead of miracles, processes instead of pressure, assets instead of activities. They design once and benefit repeatedly. Freedom is engineered, not wished for. Freedom does not arrive through motivation. It arrives through documentation, delegation, automation, and leverage. Every process you document is a brick in your freedom wall. Every task you delegate removes a chain from your time. Every system you automate gives your business a heartbeat of its own. This is how businesses outlive founders, and founders outlive burnout. The e-boss mindset for life. To remain an e-boss, you must adopt 3 lifelong rules. 1. Never be the smartest system in your business. If information lives only in your head, your business is fragile. 2. Never scale chaos. Growth without structure multiplies stress, not success. 3. Never confuse activity with progress. Being busy is easy. Being effective requires design. Your new role. From this day forward, your primary job is no longer execution. Your job is architecture. You are the designer of workflows, builder of teams, curator of tools, protector of vision, guardian of leverage. You don't disappear from your business, you rise above it. The final question. Ask yourself this one question regularly. If I stepped away for 90 days, what would break first? Then fix that system by system, process by process, until the answer becomes nothing critical. That is when you know you have become the e-boss. Not for a season, not for a trend, but for life.